Duncan here from Videomania 2. Today we're going to talk about a new release called Castle Fall, starring Scott Adkins and Dolph Lundgren. It's directed by Dolph Lundgren. And this is a great character-driven thriller. And if you like hidden treasures, give Videomania 2 a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Now let's dive into Castle Falls. This movie had an interesting production. It was going to shoot over a short time period in Birmingham, Alabama, in an abandoned building. Then the pandemic hit and everything got shut down. So they only shot a little bit of it. So they had to go back 8 months later and finish it. And Dolph Lundgren said a good part of its small budget was spent on COVID protocols and testing. But the results, nonetheless, are great. So I'm glad they were able to finish this project. And Dolph Lundgren I wasn't worried how he would direct. He directed a couple other movies. He directed one called The Defender, which is really good. He starred in that, and he also did one called The Killing Machine that he starred and directed in. So he's good at this stuff. Here he stars in it, but he's not the main star. He's still in it a lot, though. So now let's dive into the plot. It's a character-driven plot. Scott Adkins plays an older MMA fighter named Mike Wade, and he works at a local gym in Atlanta, and, you know, the promoter there and the gym owner, he's got a lot of younger fighters, and so Mike's starting to see, you know, he's starting to get pushed out because, you know, it's a young man's game. And so he's desperate, though. He's broke, you know, and he's an aging fighter, so things aren't looking up for him, and the promoter wants to cut him because he's been submitted in his last 3 fights. So he's like, let me fight one of your young guys in the gym right now, and if I win, you keep me on, and if he's as great as you think he is, I'll go, and your decision will be justified. So he begs him to do it, and they set up a fight in the gym, and he gets submitted again. He's already been submitted his last 3 fights, so he's gone. He goes to his apartment, gets his stuff, and he's just really down on his luck. So he goes to a temp agency to find some work. And the temp agency has a job in Birmingham, Alabama. They're about to demolish an old abandoned hospital, and they're going to revitalize the area, and the mayor's going to be, you know, be part of the ceremony of its demolition. So he goes there to work on the crew, you know, get a lot of stuff out of there before they demolish it. So he works there for a couple days. He meets a guy named George, who he befriends a little bit, and they talk a little bit, and George had seen some of his fights, so he kind of formed a little bond with him. And so then on his last shift, right before they were supposed to leave so they can demolish it, he sees some money in a wall. And then it turns out it's he sees 3 bags, and he's like, somebody stashed something away. So as he's about to leave, because the crew's got to leave, he tells George, look, I left my time card in my jacket. Go to the bar without me. Here's $100. He found 100 there. He's like, just go on. It's cool. You're a good dude. So he's like, I'm going to go back, get this money, and hightail it out there. I got 2 hours before it's demolished, so I can get in and out with the money. And next, Erickson is a prison guard played by Dolph Lundgren. And he's at his wit's end because he has a daughter with cancer, and the insurance won't cover her treatments. And, you know, she has to have it or she'll die. And he's already lost his wife. His daughter's all he's got. And Dolph Lundgren conveys this really well with the Erickson character. He's desperate. You know, he's a law-abiding guy, but he gets wind from a tip from a guy in prison that there's money stashed in that abandoned building that's about to be demolished. So he sees that window. He can go in and get it and get out and, you know, help his daughter. So he goes on to do that because he's just desperate. And I like how he hesitates. You know, he goes and sees his daughter hanging out with one of her friends to come over and look after her, and he's like, I gotta do this. But I like how he was kind of hesitant because this is at the core of it wrong, but you know, he's got to do what he's got to do. So he goes through with it. He wants to go to the abandoned building, and there's another guy in prison who stashed the money and he's a bad dude, and his brother, who's on the outside, is assembling a crew to go get that money. And so they want to get in and get that money and get out. And so they're rounded out by a great supporting cast led by Scott Hunter, Kim DeLonghi, and Dolph Lundgren's daughter plays his daughter in this. It's Ida Lundgren, and she does a good job too. So everything's there, and the characters, you understand their motivations, and there is action in here, and there's a lot of good action, but it's the plot, how should I say, the characters' motivations go into the action and drives the action, so it means more. So that's a really good thing. And there are shootouts, and Scott Adkins gets to do his thing because he's such an amazing talent. His martial arts skills are so good, and he does get his fair share of fight scenes in here, so you'll get to see him do his thing. And Dolph Lundgren has said in interviews for this movie that, you know, he collaborated with Scott Adkins, got his input how to do this, because Scott Adkins is so good. And Dolph Lundgren gets in on the action too, so he can still do it. So that was cool too. A lot of great fight scenes, and they mean so much more because this story is a good tight script. And there's different shootouts and lots of chaos. And both of them, Mike Wade especially, has some moral dilemmas he's got to question himself on. So, but anyway, the thing about this movie is I was glued from start to finish. I didn't pause to play on my phone. I paused for one bathroom break. That was it. So it was a really captivating story, and I wish they made more movies like this, because back in the video store era, there was always movies like this every week of a smaller budgeted action movie. Dolph Lundgren starred in several of them. So there's not that many anymore, but when there's one that comes along and it's got Dolph Lundgren and Scott Adkins, you know I'm in on that one. So I recommend this a lot. Check your theater listings if you want to see it there. I would, but I'm booked with work, so I had to check it out last night. But Amazon, Google Play is a good way to see it, but I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It's a really enjoyable thriller with some great characters, and they make some interesting decisions along the way. So anyway, great film. Glad I watched it, and take care and have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.